Atlas in the hot seat tonight.
And Atlas.
Goes by the name of Atlas the Bookkeeper. How you feeling, my friend?
Okay. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, what I'd like to do now is talk a little bit about the year that was. All right. Last year, 2024. What a year. Like, holy crap, what a year 2024 was, right? First off, year started off very uncertain. The reason I say that is because when on paper, when you were looking at 2024 as like a gaming year, you didn't know what was going to happen. You know, we had certain games that were lined up that looked like they could be great. Like for me, I remember when the year started, people were like, oh, what's the games you're most excited for? And I was like, Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and what else? I think there's like 3 games. I think I said Elden Ring Shadows of the Erd Tree, or Shadow of the Erd Tree, right? Like that was my big 3 that I was mentioning I thought I was excited for. And then everything else was kind of an X factor. Like what would be good, what wouldn't be good, like no one really knew. When the year started, okay, it was very, very slow and uncertain. I remember in January, we had Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth, and I started playing it. And at first I really liked it, but then basically it didn't really catch on with the audience. A lot of people thought that it was too winded. You know, Yakuza games are very lengthy and dragged out. And being that it was a turn-based RPG, didn't really catch on. And a lot of people were kind of burned out because I was also playing Baldur's Gate 3. So now playing 2 ginormously long, slow-paced, turn-based RPGs essentially was killing the audience, right? So I jumped into, I jumped into Tekken 8 because people wanted me to try a new fighting game, and I did. And I basically really enjoyed Tekken 8. The thing is, I had invested an insane amount of time in Street Fighter 6, and I played Tekken 8 for about a month and a half, and I got really good with Yoshimitsu. If you remember, my base characters I always use in Tekken are like Paul and King. I've always used those 2 in every Tekken game, and I was doing pretty good. But then I actually went to Yoshimitsu, and I actually really liked him. Albeit though, I don't think he was top tier, but I do feel like he was a strong, like mid-tier character. Maybe I'm wrong because I'm not a Tekken competitive player or whatever, but I felt like he was decent, right? And I was having a good time with it. The graphics of the game were outstanding, right? My problem with the game, a couple issues. Issue number 1 was definitely some of the connections were very questionable. Okay, I remember the most part the connections were good, but then every once in a while you get that string of bad connections, or they look good but then they're bad, and it could screw you over. But really my issue with the game was that game, when you hit a certain level, you immediately see the giant skill difference, right? Like it's like first you're low and everyone's a button masher, then you get mid and everyone knows some basic strategies around them. Then all of a sudden it's like there's this giant steeping climb up, and then it continues. So it's like for someone like me who's just getting back into Tekken for the first time in many years at any kind of a competitive level, it was like, okay, I learned the basics, I learned the mid techniques. All right, time to learn the advanced stuff. Oh fuck, I can't climb, I'm slipping. I can't get up this incredibly steep mountain, right? It was like it was greased. You're like clamoring to try to hold on. You're sliding down. And the truth is, if I had invested a lot more time into Tekken, like maybe if I had played it 3-4 times a week, 3-4 nights a week, I probably would have gotten really good at it. And I probably would have liked it even more, honestly. You know, I was getting good with June, and then Yoshimitsu was really picking up, and I was learning top-tier strategies and the like. But you get to the point where now it became so specific to learning matchups, to learning little intricacies. Like, the best example, you'd be like, well, this character has a completely safe hit string where he hits mid 4 times in a row. And unless you interrupt perfectly with a frame-timed jab, they can immediately just do it again and again, and literally that's the whole round. So I need to sit there and practice the perfect timing for a 1-frame jab to interrupt. And if I can't get the jab, I lose. Yeah, that's Tekken 8. I mean, that's been Tekken for a long time, actually. It's like this when you get to that level, you need to know the little nuance of how to stop certain abusable tactics. And not everyone has that time or desire. And quite frankly, no, I didn't feel like that was going to be worth my time, especially because as I was playing Tekken 8, after about a month of it, people were asking, where's Street Fighter? And I kept saying, well, I can't play 2 competitive fighting games at the same time. I'm not just an FGC guy. I do variety. If I play more than 1 fighting game at a time, you're talking 2, 3 streams of each a week. That's more than half my streaming schedule. Now, how do I ever play other games, right? So I had to only play 1 fighting game, and for me, it was Tekken at the time. But then people were complaining, where's Street Fighter? So that was kind of the catch-22, was I couldn't play one and then the other, and people were then craving Fighter 6 again. So I played it for about a month and a half. I loved it. I had to drop it. What else could I do, right? So then we got into some of the other games of the year. You know, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, which I liked. The audience didn't. Or Dragon's Dogma 2, which I was skeptical about playing, but then everyone said I should play, so I did, and then no one liked it. You know? And that was kind of par for the course of last year. If there was an action-based game, people usually liked it. And if it was anything else, slow-paced, RPG-esque, everyone hated it. It was the year of RPG overload. And I'm sorry. I feel like if it was a different year and these RPGs had been spaced out, like if you actually look on paper at all these games, right? Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Persona 3, whatever it was, Reload or whatever the hell it was called. I don't even know what it was called. You know, Dragon's Dogma 2. All of them kind of make sense on paper. But when you have them all releasing within a 3-month window, how on earth is anyone to enjoy them when they're such insanely long, attention-demanding experiences? Each one of the games I just mentioned, at a minimum, takes 60 hours to beat. Some of them take 80 to 100 hours to beat. That's a lot of time investment. How do you juggle more than one of those at once? The answer is you don't. You literally don't. So all these games being out during that time frame, so close, literally killed the market. Again, I explained this to everyone in January of last year. I said, this is going to happen. And everyone said, oh, no, that won't happen. Guess what happened? Literally, the market bottom fell out for RPGs. A game like Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, which everyone thought was going to be a smash hit, undersold and underperformed. What a shocker. You can't just nonstop release the same type of game 40 times in 3 months and expect that they're all going to sell. I said the same thing. I said it's not the genre specifically, it's that there's too much of the same genre. It seems like everyone wants to release an RPG now. I don't know why, but compare that to say, just imagine if Street Fighter 6, Mortal Kombat 1, and Tekken 8 all released within a 2-month window. They would have cannibalized each other. There's just not enough time and demand and money to go around in the market to support 3 AAA fighting games within 2 months. They would have all suffered in sales because of it. And that's what's happened with RPG overload in 2024. Okay? And that was the first, arguably, 4 months of the year, was just this crazy RPG overload. So then what happened? I said, guys, I have to stop playing RPGs. I just have to cold turkey cut them out. And a lot of people had issue with that. You're not going to play Final Fantasy VII. You're not going to play Dragon's Dogma. You're completely skipping this RPG and this RPG and this RPG. Yes, I can't just sit here and play RPGs all day. I would love to. I grew up playing RPGs. They're in my blood. Games like the Final Fantasy series, Chrono Trigger, Suikoden, Earthbound, classics, amazing games. Love them to death. But they just don't work that well as lengthy streaming games. Get it? I kid stream maybe 1 every few months, but you can't stream 2 at once, 3 at once. That's insanity. And I'm sorry, I can't just sit here and play the same kind of game either. Like, let's say, for example, when Final Fantasy VII Rebirth came out, I played it for 2 weeks straight, and that's all I played. So I might have almost beaten it within 2 weeks, and I would have had less than 100 viewers, no support, and I would have went out of business. That's just the nature of the beast. I know what works because I've been around for 16 years. You need variety. You can't just be doing the same game nonstop. People get burnt out. Okay, so that's it. And it's hilarious because every time that I say these very factual arguments, people say to me, well, that's not for you, Phil, because aren't you aware that Maximilian Dude was able to stream Final Fantasy VII? Maximilian Dude, the guy, million subs, insane amount of views, overhyped guy who literally could take a shit on stream and would make $100,000. Yeah, Maximilian Dude. That's not to scale, you buffoon. That's like, that's like saying a pseudo celebrity can play whatever game they want and make money. No shit. Because people aren't there for the game. They're there for the celebrity appearance. I'm not a celebrity. I don't know how many of you know this yet. I'm not a celebrity. When you compare me to these people, you're insane. All right? You are. You're literally nuts. I will never be the level of Asmongold. I will never be the level of these people who you try to compare me to. I won't. All right? So you could stop with the bullshit. I have to do what works for me. I have to be a variety creator. All right? If I put all my eggs in one basket, I will not be successful. I have to spread myself across a variety so I can interest a different group of people that will come by to watch and support when I'm playing the kind of game that they like. But it can't be the same kind of game all the time. You know? So there you go. So anyway, yeah, so what happened was I stopped playing RPGs. And what happened is when I stopped playing RPGs, guess what happened? My views jumped. My support jumped. I started playing a good variety of games. I did a second run of Elden Ring to prepare for the Shadow of the Erdtree playthrough. I played a game like Another Crab's Treasure, a unique take on the whole Soulsborne formula, and it worked really well. You know, the more variety I played, the more it worked. And this just led into a spring and summer where I tackled more variety. I went back to games like Street Fighter 6 that I'd kind of ignored for a long time, and things picked up. They did. I started doing more variety. For example, how can I say? Stardew Valley. Did I ever think Stardew Valley was going to work? No, but it did. Having a nice chill stream that we all relaxed into this sim game, social aspect, but you guys interacting with me and helping me to figure out what to do in it. Dude, Stardew Valley worked really well, and I really liked the game, and I'm actually looking forward to finally going back to it. Fallout had its TV series release, and when it did, it became a smash hit. So I played a Fallout 4 playthrough that at first did incredibly well, and then the hype for Fallout 4 died, and so did the playthrough, right? So I would argue the first 6 to 7 months of 2024 was definitely highs and lows. A really slow start with RPG Overload and Baldur's Gate 3, but then kind of recovering and coming back up. And then, of course, Kino Casino happened, right? Now, I want to give you guys a little bit of background.